I can't sleep when I lay in bed. Too much thinking in my head. I don't know what to do anymore. But come on now, tell me the score. Is there anything I can do to get out of these tragic blues? I'm a victim of circumstance. I never really had a chance. I lay down and stare at my feet. You know the world has got me beat.
Welcome to today's edition of Mental Health Matters.
Today we have our very own W.I.S.E program on the show with us today. We'll be talking about peer support, W.I.S.E University, and much more. Stay tuned. Thank you everybody for being on our show today. I know you guys have a busy schedule, so I just want to thank you for taking the time out your day to come and do the show with us. Let's start by everybody introducing themselves and just kind of talk about your title and your role within the W.I.S.E program. We can start with Danielle.
All right. So I'm Danielle Zavala, and I am the program director for the W.I.S.E program. Do you want me to tell you what W.I.S.E stands for now? Or?
No, you can just, I'll get back to that.
Okay. All right. I've been in this role since January of 2015, and I'm also the associate director and general counsel at NorCal MHA.
Awesome. Stephanie?
I'm Stephanie Ramos. I'm the operations manager for NorCal MHA, and then for the W.I.S.E program, I'm the W.I.S.E services liaison.
Nice.
And my name is Betsida LeBron, and I am the outreach and training coordinator for the W.I.S.E program, and I'm also the head for the W.I.S.E University.
Nice. So let's just kind of dive in. What is W.I.S.E?
So W.I.S.E is a program of Mental Health America of Northern California, and it stands for Workforce Integration, Support, and Education. And so it has evolved a little bit over time. We started the program in January of 2015, nice. And originally we focused on providing support and training and technical assistance to employers in the public mental health system that hire peer support workers and volunteers. And the idea was really to provide them with resources and training and all sorts of support as it relates to strengthening peer support in their workplaces. Because a lot of employers just weren't really familiar with how to integrate peers into mental health settings and what types of roles peers could do and what types of expectations and job descriptions they should have. So it really started out focusing on employers, and the program has expanded over time to include services directly for peers, and then most recently we started our W.I.S.E project, and I'll let my coworkers talk about both of those a little bit more. But I just wanted to say really quickly that W.I.S.E is funded by the Office of Statewide Health Planning and Development, yes, through Prop 63, or the Mental Health Services Act, WET, Workforce Education and Training Funding. So they are sponsoring our program, so go Prop 63 and Oshped.
Nice. You know, let's talk a little bit more about, because I want to talk about the importance of how to educate the employers on how to hire peers and just support them in a role when they are hired. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, you know, our main goal initially when we started out the program was to focus on helping the employers themselves. And NorCal MHA is a peer-run organization. We've been around since 1946, nice. And for at least the past 30 years, we've been hiring folks in peer support positions, even before it was a requirement under the Mental Health Services Act. So we have a lot of experience within our organization itself in hiring peers in various roles, whether they be in direct consumer, adult consumer peer support roles, or adult family member roles, parents of children and youth, and also youth advocates as well. So we have a lot of experience doing that, and over 90% of our current staff identify as someone with having lived experience, including all of our managers and our executive management team, myself included. So we wanted to take the experience that we had as an agency and some of the pitfalls that we ourselves have encountered when hiring peer support workers, and turn it into a positive and really educate other employers about how they can make this type of service work for them in their workplace and what type of supports they need to provide to ensure that the peers that they hire are successful and supported and have opportunities for professional growth and development. So we really wanted to share our expertise with employers starting out, and then it branched out to helping the peers directly, and then you can ask Steph about that, because we got a second contract from WI.S.E that allowed us to provide direct support to peers, and then have Betsy to talk to you about W.I.S.E, because we've just been expanding this program over time.
Now, I know all of us have firsthand knowledge what peer is about, but you know, for someone who may not know what a peer is, let's kind of explain to them, what is a peer?
Yeah. So a peer is someone who has personal lived experience either in recovery from their own mental health challenge, or as a direct family member who provided direct support to an adult who is living in recovery, or as a parent or caregiver to a child or youth who has an emotional, behavioral, or mental health condition, or as a transition age youth who they themselves are living in recovery from their own mental health condition. So it really falls into four main categories that are recognized, but it also all depends on what type of lived experience that individual has. And then they work in a position where they work directly with someone else who's receiving services in the public mental health system, whether they be an adult consumer, an adult family member, a parent caregiver, or a transition age youth, providing that direct mentoring and coaching and support, demonstrating to them that, you know, I've been there, I've made it through, and I can help you make it through as well. I know how this works, and you know, they're there to kind of instill hope and also to offer skills training and modeling, so that they're able to navigate the system.
Yeah, and I think what the information you shared is really important, because as you know, there's a lot of stigma attached to mental health and peers and things like that. So when you bring forth this type of information that you just talked about, it shows that that peers can work, peers can be productive in their role in the workplace.
Right.
So I think that was very important to highlight. So since you guys have been doing the W.I.S.E program, how has the program evolved over time?
Yeah, so as I mentioned briefly earlier, we did expand our program by applying for more funding from W.I.S.E, and we were able to grow our program into providing support services directly for peers, and then also creating our new W.I.S.E project. One thing I did want to point out, though, is that we're really excited at W.I.S.E because having the funding and the resources to support employers and then at the same time support peers directly has really informed our program to make it much stronger than if we were only focusing on one side or the other.
Nice.
I think it's essential that we're working together, because when we go into a new agency that we're working with for the first time, you know, we really have to understand the conditions on the ground, and it's important that we're working not just with the management and the leadership, but also with the staff, so that we can come up with a comprehensive plan to help them better integrate peers into their particular workplace. So Steph, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the services and supports that we provide for the peer staff themselves?
Yeah, so through our W.I.S.E program, we provide in-person trainings like we would in our programs that we focus on employers.
Nice.
But we also follow up, so we have coaching and mentoring to work with individuals and how are they like implementing the tools and skills that they've learned through the program, and kind of helping them navigate, you know, what does their career look like. And I think you guys had talked earlier about how now peers are required to be employed in the mental health workforce, and a lot of employers really didn't know what their role was. And so we have peers coming into the system who have an idea of what their role might be. Employers kind of have an idea, and so a lot of folks were kind of given a computer and a desk and left to figure out what their job was. And so with the W.I.S.E program, we're really able to go in, provide training and information that they might not otherwise have, follow up with the coaching and mentoring, and then to go a few steps further, we provide a monthly peer call. So any peers in the state can get on, connect with one another, learn about resources for their role, find out about potential job opportunities, trainings, really focused on, you know, what their needs are as peers in the workforce. workforce. For a long time, we were also offering financial support to individuals to be able to, do some professional development, whereas the programs that they're in now might not have had the money to afford those things. So really kind of providing a full service, one-stop shop for them when it comes to, learning more things about peer support.
Awesome, awesome. So I know you just kind of talked about going into other agencies and just kind of assisting them with, the support of the peers and stuff like that. So what type of challenges or barriers have you guys faced by going into, just other agencies and just kind of assist them? Has there been any challenges or barriers with doing that?
Oh, yeah.
I know Danielle could probably talk to the employer piece, and then I can share kind of the barriers and challenges we've seen with the peer staff.
Okay.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest challenges and barriers is getting the employers to pay attention to the issue. I think that, folks who work in the public mental health system, they are obviously well-meaning people. They entered a helping profession, and especially working in the public system, they really do want to make a difference, but they have limited resources and especially limited time.
Yeah.
And so I think that a lot of times they feel like this is a big undertaking and it probably is going to require some massive changes on their part. I tend to disagree. I don't think it requires massive changes. I think it's really easy. But these are complex problems that employers are experiencing. So really getting the attention of the employer and asking them to devote some time and thought to resolving some of the issues, convincing them that it's an investment of their time has been a challenge. And then we also experience challenges in, really the employers not understanding the peer role. And it's surprising to me that over 10 years after the Mental Health Services Act passed, and that's, what basically told the public mental health system, you have to hire people with lived experience. Many agencies had done it already, but now it was a requirement. Even 10 years, after the passage of the Mental Health Services Act, employers still really didn't get the peer role. They would just hire anyone who was willing to disclose their lived experience. And, one of the things that we communicate to employers is the lived experience piece is necessary, but it's not sufficient, so it's not the only qualification, it's one of many. And so really sitting down with employers and getting them to pay attention to the issues and devote some of their limited time has been challenging. And then trying to get them to open up their practices and how they've been doing this all along, and be receptive to advice and suggestions and things like that is challenging. But I have to say that all the employers who have come forward seeking our help have been definitely open and excited really to get help and the free resources that we offer. So,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, for the peers, it varies. There are some peers that are very happy and their organizations are doing well in this area or a little more advanced. For other peers, they have challenges, then in turn we sometimes have challenges engaging. And I think some of the bigger challenges that we face is that they are going to be asked by their employer to attend trainings, to work on their professional development, yet they don't receive any additional compensation for having new skills and abilities to be able to serve people in the system. There's a lack of advancement opportunities for those that are in peer roles. And so if they've been in these positions for a very long time and we're now asking for more and we want them to be trained on more, we're asking a lot from them without them feeling that they're getting the same amount in return. And so for our program, I think that that's a challenge that we initially faced to see that, a lot of people have had some losses and challenges in the past because of their employment. And so I think for us, it's overcoming those challenges and helping us work with them through that so that they can see the benefits of participating in the program. And it's taken time, but I think, anything that we've really come across with peer staff, we've on our end tried to help them focus more on their own professional development, what their personal goals are as far as career-wise, and helping them to kind of overcome some of those feelings that they have so that they are not getting in the way of their own success, whether it be where they are employed now or somewhere else in the future.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah. So why would you guys, let me rephrase this. Why do you think it's important to have advancement in peer roles and within an organization?
Well, I think that peer roles are no different than any other role within the organization. I mean, whenever someone is starting off in a position or they're entering a new field, they want that hope and opportunity of advancement. And I think that, it speaks to people's level of investment within their own organization, their level of commitment to their job. If they believe that they have an opportunity to develop themselves personally and professionally and then have that hard work pay off, it stands to reason that they're going to be more devoted workers and really put the agency's interests in the forefront. So, I mean, just like anybody else, we all want a challenge. We all are driven by our own, need to progress and develop. Peer roles are no different. And I think that, that is a challenge in getting employers to break out of the thinking that these are just entry-level positions. We're just kind of throwing people a bone here, and that all, it's tokenism, really, in a way of checking. We have a requirement to get peers in the workforce, so we'll just hire peers in these low-level, entry-level positions so we can check a box and say that we've done our job, but we don't have any plans to actually develop them and put their skills and what they really bring to the table to full use.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it really is no different. So I do think that it is sometimes difficult for employers to break out of the paradigm that peers are just entry-level positions.
Well, one thing, I definitely agree with you. One thing I like about the agency that we work for is, our executive director, Susan, she definitely makes sure that, when the time allows, that there could be advancement for, people within our organization.
Right.
And as you know, she's been doing this many years, wealth of knowledge, so she has an understanding of how the peer role works and an employment side of the thing. So I really appreciate that from her and from you guys too as well. So what have W.I.S.E accomplished so far since you guys been doing it?
A lot. So we have worked with over 30 different organizations, probably about 40 at this time. Last time I counted, it was around 30.
Wow.
But we're constantly kind of expanding our reach throughout the state. Since January of 2015, so just a little shy of 2 years, we've already put on 7 conferences. Wow. 7 peer employment related conferences all over the state. We've conducted over 90 in-person trainings.
Wow.
We do countless webinars. We've probably done at least 50 of them by now. We do several webinars a month. We have a peer webinar that Stephanie usually does. Yeah. We have our advisory council that Betsaida heads up. Nice. And anyone can participate in any of these webinars. The advisory council really is, we're seeking feedback from key stakeholders, whether they be employers, whether they be county leadership, whether they be individuals working or volunteering in peer roles, to participate and give us feedback on where you'd like to see our program go and what trends they're noticing in the peer workplace, so that we can kind of keep our finger on the pulse of what's happening around the state. Our program is statewide, so we offer services throughout California. We have several subcontractors that are peer-run organizations throughout the state that are helping us with the work that we're doing. We've developed 15 original trainings. Wow. And we're in the process now of developing a full 2-week curriculum with W.I.S.E University. Yeah. So I think, Betsaida can tell you a little bit about, I'm excited for her to tell you about W.I.S.E University because I know you're like, we're going to get to that. But I'm really excited about it. And, we're just constantly, looking for ways that we can infiltrate across the state, because one of the things that I think has really been lacking is a centralized force to champion peer support in California, to bring more recognition and I think respect and dignity to the profession. And one of the refreshing things that we've noticed is everywhere we go around the state, people are excited to get involved. They really feed off our energy and our enthusiasm for peer support. And so we're doing a lot of good work. So trainings, webinars, conferences, there's lots of ways that people can get involved if they're interested. We have a website, all of that, but Let's
talk about, because I've actually had the opportunity to attend some of the trainings that W.I.S.E you know, have, and it's really awesome, like really, really awesome. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from some of the staff members who has taken the training. So let's kind of talk a little bit about some of the training. I know there's peer support 101. I know there's an ethics training. So I think you guys rap training that's tailored to the people needs. So let's talk a little bit about the trainings, because I want to expose the community about these trainings, because I know there may be people who don't know about the trainings or who may not even have heard about the trainings.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the trainings.
Yeah. Well, so our foundational trainings that we kind of require everyone to go through for working with an agency for the first time is Recovery 101 and Peer Support 101. Everybody has to go through those.
Nice.
Managers, supervisors, everybody from, you know, leadership on down, preferably even, you know, the support staff and the clerical staff as well. Because we really, really find that it's important to remind people of the foundational principles of recovery and why it's so important in the public mental health system, and why everything really should be viewed through the lens of recovery-oriented services. So that's really important, making sure everyone has a shared understanding of what recovery is about, because all services should be built around recovery. Then we provide Peer Support 101, which really gets kind of into the nitty-gritty of the foundational core competencies of peer support. So we're teaching, again, you know, everybody about what peer support is, what peer supporters do, what their role is in services provision, and all of that. And then we offer various other types of trainings that are specifically geared towards peers, some that are more workplace culture related as well, you know, that focus on staff retention and things like that. So do you guys want to talk about some of the peer trainings that we provide?
Yeah, my favorite. I really enjoy our ethics training.
Yes.
And I think a part of that is, one, I like to make people squirm. But I think the second piece is you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people that started in, I mean, I myself started as a youth advocate, and I remember early on not knowing, like, I have an idea of what my job was, but I wasn't always sure of, like, the exact detail of everything I should be doing. I wasn't sure of, like, what are the rules around how much you can help someone and how much you can't, and what if somebody calls me on the weekend or in the evening, or what if they need bus fare, or small things that it wouldn't be a big deal for me to support them with. Yet it created a lot of expectations later on that I was unaware of. And so I really enjoy the training. I think, one, because it teaches folks a lot of stuff that I didn't have an opportunity to learn in the beginning. And then I think, secondly, I just like to see that light bulb moment in folks. And I think for individuals, when we look at the ethics and boundaries training, these are really concepts that we could be applying to everything in our lives, not just to their role as a peer support worker. But I think it really, it lifts a burden that maybe they didn't have to be carrying for a long time. They start to realize here's what you are responsible for, here's what you're not responsible for. And so to take the load of the world off your shoulders, and to know that it's not your job to save people, your job is to help people help themselves, and to start to understand, like, what that boundary is and how they can exercise that in their work. It excites me. But for me, it's really about seeing the change in people, and starting to see people kind of have that relief of, you know, I'm not a rescuer.
Wow.
Right? I'm really here to support you along your journey.
Yes, yes.
I think kind of a little bit what Steph's saying about, like, the ethics and boundary training, I think is true of a lot of the WISE training, is that really what it is realizing that you have to look at yourself and understand yourself and the work that you do, because as far as, you know, doing peer support work, so much of it is because of your own lived experience and your story. So you have to really understand who you are and why you do what you do, so that you can do it better and more effectively, and understanding your role. And so I think ethics and boundary training is that way. I mean, even Recovery 101 has some parts where you're really looking at yourself when you're talking about, you know, your own recovery planning, and being aware of, like, what are you doing to keep yourself well, because you need to be aware of that when you're helping other people, you know, be well. And Advocacy 101 is a lot of also just looking at yourself. So there's a lot of self-reflection that is built into the WISE curriculum, no matter what we're talking about. So I think that's what's also a very interesting and exciting part of the work that we do, because you get to see people's light bulb moments, because they get to know themselves a little better, which is crucial for this work.
Yes.
Right.
You know, one of the things that I know was talked about at the Recovery 101 training was, you know, the recovery is about the person. You know, I know people personally who is trying to go through a recovery process, and the family obviously loves their loved one, but I feel like sometimes the recovery is about them more so than their loved one, because you know, in that particular culture, you know, it's looked at as, you know, it's about image a lot of times. So it's this pressure to...
Well, in our society in general, too. I mean, certainly in other cultures it might be more pronounced, but I mean,
and it's this pressure to do it now and get it done, and sometimes the person, they have setbacks and they get back up and they have setbacks, and you know, so I actually took some of that information and kind of talk to, you know, the person about this going through the recovery process, and try to help this person understand that a lot of the pressure that you're feeling, they're bringing this pressure because they love you, but know that a lot of this is about them and not necessarily you. So there was a lot of good information shared that I was able to bring back outside of my work, but, you know, in my personal life to other people as well.
And there's also, I mean, there's peer work for family members as well. And that's part of it for the family members who are wanting to do peer support, and they're supporting other family members, because there are family members that are wanting to help, and they really love and care about the person, and they don't know how to do that. And so there's a lot of the family recovery also has to do with kind of looking at yourself, figuring out what are your needs, what do you know, what are you hoping to accomplish, and your why. Because it's not just about like, oh, you know, look at my loved one, they need to get well, because as much as they have their own recovery, the family members have theirs, and it's not always on the exact same path together. And the family needs to kind of be aware of that, and that's something too. And you know, W.I.S.E University and the classes that we do are open also to family members who are looking to be peer support for other family members.
I think that is very important. I know, I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. But I know, you know, my friend, him and his mother, you know, he's pretty much battling addiction to pain medication. And his mom is taking the same pain medication. And so I know he's expressed several times that, you know, I need to be out of the house a lot, because it's hard for me to get in recovery and stay in recovery, because, you know, he feel like his mom is there to enable him whenever he wanted, and when she's going through withdrawals, it's hard to see her like that. So now, even though he's been clean of his pain medication for 3 or 4 days, now he's finding himself back in the mix, getting it for his mom, and now he's taking them again. And so they don't really understand that, you know, and I was telling the sister, like, when he says that he needs to be out, it's nothing personal. Listen to what he's saying. He's saying that this is a hinder to his recovery. It's nothing important, but he's trying to fight to be in this recovery. So I'm glad that type of training is provided to the family members, because it's definitely needed as well.
Well, I think it's important also to sometimes remember that the primary person who's receiving services is sometimes a canary in the coal mine, and they may be an indicator of a bigger issue that's going on within the family dynamic itself. You know, and so I think like Steph she has great advice around stuff like that, because, you know, it's important for the family members to really see that everybody contributes to the family unit in their own way. And one person's challenge, while it might be the most acute challenge that people are experiencing, isn't what defines the entire family, right? And also that the family members have their own story too. So it's how they experience maybe some of the same risk factors that the loved one, you know, who is experiencing an episode of mental illness, you know, how they dealt with those risk factors in their life that they also shared, how they're dealing and coping with helping and supporting their loved one, which we know that there's a lot of stress that's involved with caretaking as well. So yeah, I mean, family members, I think empowering family members to realize that their loved one's story is not their story. And is so important, you know, and really empowering them to understand that you need to take care of yourself, And you also need to know that you're not responsible for your loved one's recovery, but you can be supportive. And here's what the evidence shows of how you can be the most supportive to your loved one.
Yes. And I think that's really hard for family members. I mean, the boundaries when it comes to family is so hard.
Yeah.
That's so hard. I mean, it's a lot easier to have boundaries with, in the work with a client, because you're like, at the end of the day, like I go home, I don't have to see them until like, I'll deal with that email tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
But like, I don't get to go home and not deal with my family.
Yeah.
Like, so it's a very complicated thing. And for family members, I think that's one of the hardest things as far as the boundary training. I think that might be the most hard hitting training for family members to see kind of what can they do and what isn't their responsibility, because it's not in that moment what's about them is only their own recovery, like I said before, and then there's their loved one, and those sometimes are going in the same direction and sometimes they're not.
Yeah.
And that's okay too, but that's what's hard for the family member, to still love the person and know what is and then kind of what they aren't responsible for.
Yes.
That's
So let's talk a little bit about W.I.S.E University. First of all, I want to know, how did you guys come up with this name? So that's the first thing, because I've always, and even though I know we work together, I'm like, okay, who came up with W.I.S.E? So which one of you guys are responsible for that?
That'd be me.
I knew it.
Well, so we had an opportunity. So OSHPD, our funder, releases grant applications every year for programs that are funded not through MHSA W.I.S.E. Sorry, everybody out there with my acronyms, but they're not funded through a specific category of funding of the Mental Health Services Act. They're funded through a different category of funding, which is ongoing and renewable. So those programs that they're seeking to fund are really about educating people who want to enter the profession in what it takes to be in the profession, and then also help them achieve placement either in paid or volunteering positions. So to me, it was just natural to call it W.I.S.E because we're taking people who don't necessarily have the education or experience and training them and teaching them in a very focused area of education, right? Yeah. So, and then helping them actually get placed and providing that ongoing support once they are placed, and helping them get adapted and adjusted to a new position that they're working in. So that was my idea to call it W.I.S.E.
Nice.
And it's definitely more intensive because it is a 2-week curriculum, and then it requires some field work and other stuff, but Betsaida is our head of W.I.S.E, so I'm going to let her talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what's exciting about W.I.S.E University is that it's kind of giving us an opportunity to take what has already been created through the W.I.S.E program. So these trainings have already been created as far as, what we were talking about before, Recovery 101, Peer Support 101, and other trainings, and putting them together in an intensive 2-week training academy. So for folks that maybe are wanting to get into peer support, that want to figure out, like, well, what does that mean? How do I do this? Yeah. And are looking to make that their career, this is a great place for them. But also people who are already working or volunteering in the field and are looking to kind of get deeper understanding of their role and kind of see what the opportunities are as far as advancement in their career. That's another opportunity to be part of W.I.S.E. So it's really exciting to see. Already, this is the first training cohort we're going to have this winter, which starts at the end of the month, November 28th. And so it's been really cool to see who's applying for the program, because it really runs such a vast array of experience, and the folks that are wanting to be a part of this program. We have people that are brand new that are just kind of like considering a volunteer, but want to do it. They want to do it well. They want to understand it. And then folks that have been doing it for maybe a couple years and had a setback and are trying to get back into the field, and folks that already have a position but want a deeper understanding of their role. It's been really exciting to see who's interested and who's coming forward to kind of be a part of this, and we're really just excited for what this is going to be. Our goal is to have a training session once a quarter, So we'll have
Nice.
another one in the spring, and it's just cool to see kind of how this is all coming together. Because with the W.I.S.E program, we would do trainings, but it was really, you know, we did a training, we'd have to go to the agency, right? You know, so this is an opportunity for individuals who are really interested that they wouldn't have had an opportunity otherwise, because we didn't have the capability to go to train just one person, right? We'd have to train the whole agency, and you know, if the agency was on board, and that, you know, that started a conversation. So it was a lot that had to happen to kind of get the ball rolling, to get people to get the trainings that they wanted. But now if people are interested as an individual, they can apply for W.I.S.E University and get this incredible, not just the trainings, but the placement support, the ongoing mentoring. So the three of us, and then also there's Danny Marquez, who isn't here today, but he is one of the career advisors. So we are really thinking about each individual as they apply. So they apply, and then we figure out who's going to be the right mentor for them, who's going to help them reach their goals. And we learn their goals because we have a one-on-one interview with each applicant, and we try to understand, okay, well, so kind of who are you? You know, what experience got you to this place? What have you done work-wise? Where are you hoping to go? And we think about short-term goals and long-term goals. And then in knowing that and seeing the bigger picture of who they are and where they want to be, then we really put a lot of thought into who's going to be the right advisor for them, who's really going to help them really get to their goals and make this a career. Because ultimately what we want is peer support professionals, right, that are ready to be professionals, that are ready for this to be their career, and to really be ready to give back to the public mental health.
Yeah. I know earlier Danielle kind of mentioned that, you know, something about it's kind of more than just have a lived experience as far as the skill set is concerned, I think.
Right.
So how do you guys handle people that may not necessarily have the skill set? That, for example, somebody may not know how to type, or somebody may not know the computers as well. Like, how do you guys handle that with them, or do you guys train them on that, or how do you place them if they don't? Like, how do you guys handle a situation like that?
Yeah, so, and again, it's very individualized to each person. So if, you know, someone has the understanding and the excitement and the willingness and openness to learn, right? That's first. And that their goals long term, they see themselves being a peer support professional, great. That's a solid foundation. That's where we want to start. And then if they don't have what we call like the hard skills, right? The typing skills, or maybe they don't really have experience in an office environment or being part of, you know, a multidisciplinary team, that's okay.
Yeah.
What we want to know, what skills do you have, as well as what skills don't you have. And then maybe what we want to think about is when we're thinking about their individual career plan, maybe what we want to do is put them in a volunteer position where they can start to get some of those skills, but without the pressure, right? So that they maybe only go in like, you know, one day a week and just start to work on it. And they have, with their career advisor, they're talking about, well, what are the skills you're working on? So every day that you go into this volunteer position, you're using that time to better yourself. So you're getting closer to your goals. It's not just you're going in there and kind of, you know, doing whatever. You're really trying to do something. And that happens really by getting to know each individual and where they're at, and a lot of it is a career advisor supporting them through it.
I think to me, that's an awesome idea, because as you know, within our organization, we have a lot of volunteering opportunities. And so, you know, we do have volunteers that we have employed as, you know, paid staff. So in that particular volunteer role, they have learned like office skills, or learn how to navigate through the computer system a little more and things like that. So I'm glad that, you know, the W.I.S.E program is giving them an opportunity to just brush up on some of the skills that may actually be there, but they don't even know they have these particular skills. You know, so I think that it's awesome. So is there an application process? Do they come to the office? Do they, you know, how do they get started? So
the application's online, and the easiest way to get to it is to go to our website, which is www.wiseup.work. So
Nice.
that is WISE up and then WORK. So it's not .com, .org, it's .work, because we want to put you to work.
Yeah.
That's what
I love
Danielle
it.
always says, because we want to put you to work. And so going there, there's lots of great information about the program and everything that we're doing for employers, for peers. And then there's a tab that says WISE-U. And if anyone who's interested in WISE University, click on WISE-U, and
Nice.
then it'll take you to the application.
Nice. So is there a certain age requirement? Do they have to pay anything? Is the program free, the training free? Or?
Yeah, it's totally free. You do have to be over 18 to apply. Well, I guess anyone could apply, but you'd have to be over 18 to be accepted.
Okay.
We won't take anyone that's not over 18.
Yeah.
And there's absolutely no cost to it. And actually, for those that are accepted and finish their field placement, there's actually a $200 stipend that we give
Nice.
participants. Yeah, it's kind of some incentive to get through the program.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Wow, cha-ching.
Yeah.
So the people that are accepted to the program to be trained, you know, like, tell me, like, what would their experience be like during the 2-week training? Because when you think of a training, you're like, oh, 2 weeks, that's kind of lengthy, that's long. So what would they experience and what would they get out of the 2 weeks training as they, you know, go along?
Yeah, and you feel free to jump in whenever. So for the 2 weeks of training, it is going to be like Danielle said, it's intensive.
Yeah.
So it is 2 weeks. It's full days,
Nice.
9 to 5. There is a break for lunch, so you get to have like a little, you know, kind of clear your head and come back to it.
Yeah.
But it is serious. It's serious school, serious education, and
Nice.
our expectations are relatively high. So
Yeah.
it's not, you know. We're not playing around.
Yeah.
I think one of the things about the WISE program is that we know the work we do is serious, but we don't have to be like serious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So we do try to have a lot of fun whenever we can, and so there definitely the way that we're putting this training together is to be very interactive. There's going to be group work, exercises where people can really
nice.
try some of the stuff that they're learning and kind of see, well, what would that look like if I'm actually doing it? So having it be really hands-on, trying to use lots of different learning styles, so not just lecture.
Yeah.
So we want it to be
Nice.
visual and, you know, like hands-on and auditory, and there'll be videos and interactive stuff
Nice.
and some games. So
Nice.
we want to make learning fun, but it's like not a joke.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Serious learning, fun times, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it'll be definitely intensive and it'll be interactive. There will be quizzes at the end of each learning segment, so
Nice.
folks do have to pass with at least 70%. We also will have a final exam, but
nice.
and homework. So there's definitely work that goes along with it, but you know, the instructors, the three of us, and the career advisors are there to support people along the way. So it shouldn't be scary. We are challenging people to do their best, obviously, but we believe in them and we're going to provide the support that they need in order to accomplish that. The last day we will have just kind of a review so people can go over concepts for their final exam, and then we'll have a
Nice.
celebration at the end of the 2-week period. So it should be exciting. I think we're really, really thrilled to be able to offer this opportunity. And we're definitely, you know, we don't like hearing ourselves talk for 8 hours straight. So we're pretty sure that other people don't want to hear us talk. So we're definitely looking for ways to try and incorporate a lot of fun activities into the 2-week training while making sure that we're imparting a lot of useful knowledge on the folks who attend the program.
Yeah, and,
Nice.
and as far as what they get out of it, I think they get a lot of education and information that most people going into the field did not have.
Awesome.
A lot of the folks that we currently do trainings with and coach and are already working with tell us like they've been in the field for a long time and this is the first time that they're having these conversations. And so I feel like for them, they're getting kind of a jump start going into the field. And I think for employers, they are getting people coming in that have this information already and are already, you know, understanding the recovery model and understanding what their role is and, you know, coming in with the intent of practicing peer support as evidence-based practice. And
Yeah.
so I think that not only for the individuals that we're training, but the employers, I think, get a lot out of this program.
Yeah, and I definitely think that's important. So I know this training, the 2-week training, will be starting off here in Sacramento. So will it be in any other parts of California, or will it just be?
Yeah, so we are working with employers really throughout mostly Northern and Central California. So we're looking at ways to maximize training opportunities while minimizing costs,
Nice.
you know, because if it's a 2-week training, it can get quite expensive for the 3 of us to travel out of town for 2 weeks, not to mention, you know, family obligations and things like that. So we're looking at ways, you know, like through e-learning or remote, you know, webinar learning as well, to try and supplement some of the in-person training in the future with some remote learning opportunities. We do have e-learning software, so folks will be able to, in the future, take some of our courses online at their own pace.
Nice.
So that will be a way that they can earn some of their training, or their training hours. So we're looking at using technology smartly, so that as many people who would like to participate have the opportunity to do so. But we will be going, at least probably for the first and last sessions, going into other areas of the state. Probably, you know, we're working with Lake County, Sutter Yuba, Placer County, Amador, Tuolumne, Stanislaus. So we have a lot of agencies that are kind of engaging with us, sending folks our way that they want to get trained, and they're willing to consider placing those folks once they get through the program. So we will need to be responsive to the needs of agencies in those areas as well.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah.
So how can people get involved in WISE?
Lots of ways.
Yeah.
Primarily, you know, if you want to learn more about the program, I recommend going to our website, which Betsaida mentioned earlier. It's www.wiseup.work, because we want to put you to work.
Yes.
So that's our website. We have a Facebook page, which is facebook.com/WiseUpCalifornia. Yeah, Wise Up California. We have a Twitter feed. It's Wise Up. And Wise Up Work, sorry. We do monthly webinars. We do at least 3 every month. We have an employer learning exchange where we talk about topics as it relates to the management and supervision of peer staff. So we do one of those every month. We do our advisory council where anyone, any stakeholder can jump on and give us advice on where they'd like to see the program go. We have webinars that we do specifically for peer support workers and volunteers in the system. Steph does those, and oftentimes we're doing kind of specific training modules about certain topics that are relevant to their field. If they're interested in trainings, we do trainings with organizations, mentoring, one-on-one mentoring with peers, technical assistance for employers, you know, all of that. So I think the best place for folks to go if they want more information to see what resources we have and what might fit their needs is probably to check out our website.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. You know, and I know we probably kind of scammed over this in previous conversation, but I do definitely think it's important for employers that's hiring peers to be educated, to be aware of just what the peer movement is about. You know, in all honesty, for me, I look at peers just like non-peers, you know, for me. And but when you do get people, whether employers or not employers, who hire or may account to a peer, sometimes it can be challenging, because if you don't have that background or that language or that knowledge, you can say things that may be offensive, and you may not even mean it. Not having an understanding that we all have bad days. You know, and you know, they may have a peer or someone that may have a bad day, and they just, oh, you know, this is a waste of time, and you know, and so it's important to have that training to do what you guys are doing. And so I just want to commend you guys for doing the work that you're doing, because I'm telling you, it's needed. Even though I'm in the field and I work for the agency, trust me, I've learned a lot. I still have a lot of my training information, my notes, and I do go over them, you know, because I do have people outside the agency that, you know, that are peers, and I want to make sure that they get the information that can keep them living in recovery, you know. But unfortunately, you know, a lot of people don't want the help, but there are some that actually do want the help. So It's important. So let's, and I know we got a little time, let's kind of talk about mental health as a whole, because as you know, there's a stigma that's attached to mental health, and a lot of people don't really want to deal with it or learn about, let's kind of talk about this. What can we do as an agency and even as an individuals to educate the community even more outside even what we're doing right here? What can we do? What do you guys think about that?
I think some of the most important things are, what I found has been helpful is really normalizing mental health issues. Letting people know that just like everyone has physical health, everyone has mental health. And, sometimes we get injured or hurt, and it's the same thing with our mental health. And, we have to participate in maintenance and wellness activities. So really normalizing it, I try to do that as much as possible. In my position, because I'm not doing direct services, I'm not always required to, share my story, but I let people know I am someone who has lived experience with my own mental health challenges. And yes, I am, an organizational leader, and yes, I am an attorney, and yes, I do run this program.
Yes.
And so it's important for people to know that, just because I've struggled in the past doesn't mean that I'm still struggling, and I've found ways to maintain my wellness that are really important to me. And so just like I'm able to give back and contribute, plenty of other people out there are able to give back and contribute as well. So I think just kind of normalizing the subject, not shying away from it, not acting like it's a big deal, and also just kind of nonchalantly letting people know that, I have lived experience too, has been one of the ways that I've seen reduce stigma around mental health conditions.
Got you.
I think as individuals, I think part of it is just talking about it. I think kind of going along with what y'all is saying, but I know like for me, I like swear I have mental health tattooed in invisible ink on my forehead. Everybody knows for some reason.
Yeah.
But I think that, taking those opportunities when they come up to talk about it. And so I may hear somebody around me say something about somebody, or ask a question without really asking for an answer, and I'm like right there to be like, oh, well maybe, or did you consider, or did you think about? And I'm at that point. I think for me, I feel safe enough and comfortable enough to like go down that pathway if somebody brings it up. And I have found that most of the time people are interested and don't have an opportunity to talk about it. And so I think that providing a safe space for people to talk about those things, even if it's not them, and maybe they're just talking about something that's on the news, or something that they saw. I mean, I've been down at a bar every once in a while, and I'm sitting there and someone's talking next to me about something that was on the news, and I have that, like, they might say something, and that's my opportunity to maybe quickly let them know about a statistic or some information, and give them that safe space to kind of like ask a question and talk about it. And so I think it's like really about not being afraid to engage in those conversations. And I think a really important piece too is like meeting people where they are, right? Like I've heard people say things that are awful, but in my mind I'm like, you know better, you do better. Like maybe they didn't know that this was the like correct information behind what they said, or they were unaware of this, or maybe they're going through their own like things and are having a little bit of self-stigma, and so trying to distance themselves. And so I think part of it is being open to the conversation, but also like compassionate to others and where they are, meeting them where they are, and maybe you'll teach them a thing or two.
I like that, exactly.
Yeah, and I think kind of exactly what you've already said is that I think one of the important things, at least that I've kind of realized, is being willing to listen. Because a lot of times with things like, especially with mental health, if you know something about mental health, to be careful not to try to like, I don't know what other word I have, but like to preach at people, because like, we said earlier, recovery is very individual, it's very personal. And so sometimes being able to just kind of listen to where somebody's at helps them kind of understand what they're already thinking. I think people are very capable of coming up with their own solutions, and if you give them the space to think about it, and whenever you can educate, like Steph was saying, educating is different than preaching. If you know something and you help somebody understand, great, but you don't have to preach at them. Just be there to listen, create the safe space for them, normalize it.
Yeah, and I'm definitely in agreement with everything you guys said, and I'm glad that you shared that part of your story, because for me, and I think this, and I tell people outside of work this, I work with some incredibly intelligent people, And I really mean that. I don't just say it just to say it, you know, like all you guys, and you know, you're the attorney, you're operations manager, you know, the things that you do, Susan's at the director, very, very, very smart people, you know. And so for me to work with an agency like that, I feel privileged, you know. I learn a lot. I'm always trying to educate people, especially my family, about mental health, because I, you know, have family members with lived experience. So, you know, I'm definitely on the forefront, regardless if I'm at work or not. So we are running out of time. So I do want to thank you guys for being on our show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And so that's it for today's edition of Mental Health Matters. If you enjoyed the show that we gave today, or if you like a copy of the DVD, or if you have questions about this particular show, please dial 916-366-4600. Thank you.
When I think of where I've been, the good times and the bad, on a scale of 1 to 10, either way I'm glad, 'cause I'm not alone. As I'm reaching for the phone, your voice is there, you really care, you're my comfort zone. Sometimes when I'm lost, crushed beneath the pain, though I can't afford the cost, I just smile and play the game. But there's a healing place where I cannot pretend. Your smiling face, your heart's embrace heals me again. So even when the storm is strong and I'm deaf to my own cry, I faintly hear a distant song, and I simply can't deny that I'm not alone. 10,000 times I've known my best bet is that first step for hope. Trying to stand tall, I'm haunted by the past. With my back against that wall, one thing is clear at last. The kind of love you show to me flows from an endless stream, with shores so wide it won't subside. My mind had never dreamed how I'm not alone. Even when I'm on my own, your gentle touch is much too much to let me roam. So even when the storm is strong and I'm deaf to my own cry, I faintly hear a distant song, and I simply can't deny that first step for home. When I think of where I've been, the good times and the bad, on a scale